still not reaching out to the victim. This lasted for almost 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, Nilesh, is what you are saying. And what you're also saying is this woman was eventually taken to the hospital, but she could not be saved because of excessive bleeding. Nilesh, an important question. You've said the accused has been arrested. There's a case registered against him. But has any case been registered against the bystanders? Do we know about this?
Well, as of now, police officials are currently exploring and investigating the arrested accused and trying to understand that is it the only angle that is a financial dispute that occurred between them that resulted to such a gruesome murder, or is there any other aspect also? Yes, they are trying to understand all of these angles through interrogating and trying to understand, registering comments from the fellow colleagues, but are they part of are they under lenses is currently not being given out by police officials. But yes, if the arrested accused, that is Krishna, if he reveals about getting in connection with creating a conspiracy for this murder, further legal action will be taken against other individuals as well.
Nilesh, thank you very much for joining us with those details. Let me straight go to my guests at this point. I'm being joined by PK Jain, a retired senior IPS officer, Dr. Harish Shetty, who's a psychiatrist, Tahira Hassan, who's a women's rights activist. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. PK Jain, this is not the first time that you're joining us on an issue like this. And unfortunately, we're literally becoming a nation of mute spectators. Yes, the murder is absolutely brutal, gruesome, and the accused has been arrested. But yet again, in this case, no action has been taken against the mute spectators. The bystanders, many of whom actually could have been just about their colleagues because they were in the same complex. This was the parking lot of the BPO where this really happened. PK Jain, my first question to you, as a police officer, how important were those 10-15 minutes? Because the hospital is saying that this woman died because of excessive blood loss, PK Jain.
That's right. Absolute insensitivity on the part of the crowd who went about assaulting the perpetrator of this crime and did not take this wounded victim to the hospital. It is absolutely shocking. In fact, they did not touch the attacker till the time he had a chopper in his hand. It was only when he threw away the chopper that the people piled onto him. It's absolutely unfortunate. I mean, we are, as you very rightly said, we are becoming absolutely mute spectators. We are scared of something happening to, we become so selfish that so many people standing there, even if 2, 3, 4 people had come forward, this guy would have run away. But this kind of a reaction is, what can I say about this? It all talks about the psyche of the people, the psyche of the society today, that we are just not willing to take up a right cause. I mean, something which is happening right in front of their eyes, and they are not willing to intervene without realizing that this can happen to them tomorrow. I mean, somebody can mete out the same kind of treatment to them, and nobody will help.
My question is this. Psyche, yes, it's a big question on the psyche. It's a big question on priorities, and we'll get to that also in a bit. But my first question, legally speaking, again, you have a case such as this where the cops are focusing on the accused who's accused of attacking her, eventually leading to her death, her murder. A gruesome murder, as I said earlier. But there's been no cases filed against the bystanders. Legally, are the bystanders partners in this crime?
No, absolutely not, Sneha. They are not partners in this crime. They are only bystanders. They are not doing their civic duty. They are not reacting like true citizens of this country. That's the only thing. As far as the law is concerned, the law does not cast any responsibility or any accountability on them for acting or not acting. Unfortunate.
So what, if you're saying they've not done their duty as a citizen, what should they have done, PK Jain? As a former senior police officer, what would you tell bystanders? There's a group of people, grown-up men and women, all of them around while this incident is happening, while that man is on the phone with a sharp weapon as well, and the woman is on her knees. Crucial time, 10 to 15 minutes lost. PK Jain, as a senior police officer, what would you tell people if at all they find themselves in a situation like this? What must they do?
Yeah, I would only suggest and request and beseech them to act Even if they exceed their limits, they assault the person, they have to neutralize him by force. It should be done immediately because even the law gives them the due protection. Because anybody who's, you see, any citizen is a police officer outside the uniform. The citizens have all the right to act for their own self-defense as well as for the defense of others. The all other things come later. My only request to everybody is that in such a scenario, please do intervene. Even if a force has to be used, please do that. The law will take its own course. Nothing will happen to the person who's trying to save another life. The only thing is that does not have to, unless the situation so demands, one does not have to go overboard and kill the perpetrator of the crime. But as we always say in the police, reasonable use of force to prevent a crime and to hold a perpetrator is what ought to be done. Now, what is this reasonable force is very difficult to define. But in a situation like this, you can always know, even if he had to be hit, he can be hit, he can be taken into custody, he can be pinned down, he can be assaulted if the situation so demands.
Okay.
Short of killing the person or attempting to kill, everything else could have been done. Sneha.
Okay. Dr. Harish Shetty, allow me to get you in at this point. You know, a lot has been said about the accused and arresting the accused physically as a civil society as well as the cops for that matter. But here's a very important part of what we are seeing on our visuals. The entire focus remains on the accused. And yes, pinning down the accused, holding him, arresting him, all of that is very important. But look at the counter side of it. The victim is there alive. She's alive. There's been 10 to 15 minutes that have passed where she's got no help. There's a victim, a young 28-year-old woman who possibly is alive. And she's taken to the hospital where she loses her life, and the doctors say, according to a reporter, because of excessive bleeding. Dr. Harish Shetty, break this down for us.
I think the first thing is, what was that man doing with the chopper? Did they do a background check? Nobody takes a chopper in his hands unless there is something wrong, unless you have criminal tendencies or something else. That is number one. Number two, apathy is the truth across India, alienated, disconnected, and not cohesive. Why did they not take the girl immediately to the hospital? They've been moving up and down and watching as if nothing has happened. And as correctly said, this apathy is a consequence of a system of a country which is growing very fast economically, but is going down when it comes to human relations, empathy, and living together. In fact, in COVID, we learned one important philosophy. If everybody is safe, I'm safe. So it was important for them to immediately rush and neutralize him and take her to hospital. That is not happening because it is not happening to my sister. It's not happening to my friend. It's not happening to me. And this awareness has to be brought in the society. As the cop said beautifully, it can happen to you. So this apathy could be shock. And after that, no emotions. If you work for 14 to 16 hours, your emotions are throttled and you don't feel for somebody else. Lack of feeling towards your own brethren, lack of feeling towards your own brothers, sisters, and your community is a consequence and an adverse reaction of a fast-paced life. And also, India has been a country of bystanders for 1500 years. That's why we were ruled. And that is something which is a malady affecting our country for a very long time. They have to, just like in industries, you have disaster preparedness. When there's a fire, what should you do? When there's an earthquake, what should you do? There has to be a disaster preparedness activities wired inside the system of employees. When you're attacked, what should you do?
Right. Tahira Hassan, if I can get you in, Ms. Tahira Hassan. I mean, you know, there is no logic to this in the sense that you can't segregate this in terms of gender, because wherever there are instances such as this, attacks, accidents, you just have bystanders. You've had instances where bystanders have taken their phones and recorded it all without acting to help the victim in that case, without rushing to help the victims. But there have also been instances where women are at the heart of it, whether it be a jilted lover who's following his girlfriend, as it was in Vasai, whether it was in a hostel in Bengaluru where a woman was attacked by her former roommate's boyfriend. The women in that hostel, in that PG, refused to help even as she was literally fighting for her life, and it was seen on camera, on the CCTV, it was all captured. And then you have today's instance, Tahira Hassan. How must women, how must their families really be looking at all of this, approaching this? Because this also needs a huge psychological makeover, because at the end of the day, a lot of this burden falls on women. And then there is this resistance of not allowing to go, not allowing to go alone, don't go after night, don't do this. It's a series of restrictions that women seem to be battling every single time.
Yes, very true. You know, the women's security is very important, and the women's security is on stake nowadays. They are assaulted on the road, broad daylight. We have seen in Bangalore also, and the people stand and make the video. You know, this new law in society, we cannot call ourselves a civil society. This is happening. And the women, you know, these things that women who go out, who live alone, who earn their living, you know, they also, unlike a man, you can say, they only don't do only teaching job and this, they become a doctor, engineer, or working in the multinationals, or in the
Nothing wrong with
media
the
and all.
teaching job,
So
though.
they just harassed. They are harassed in this way that people say, oh, don't do this job. Don't live alone. Otherwise, you will be treated like that. I mean, this is a patriarchy that is deep rooted. They have their own rules. They have made their guideline that good women work 10 to 5. And after that, the women who live in the separately in PGO and all, they are not good ones. So treat them like that. So you will be punished. And the people say, no, you know, now you should
So
not send your
crimes
daughters.
literally reinforcing patriarchy and stereotypes. That's what you're saying.
And the thing is this, that here the men and women both are attacked, and these type of people who have this type of psyche, you know, their mental health is very important. I again and again say, nowadays in India we have to recognize mental health problem. So these type of things are rising, you know, every day. But my question, how this man
Okay.
entered in the office with the chopper, why there was no security check? I mean, this is also a question. I mean,
Okay,
don't there
PK
be
Jain,
like
let me get
security
you in.
check?
We have two panelists. We have Dr. Harish Shetty as well as Tahira Hassan asking the same question. How did this man with a sharp weapon enter the company of BPO with so many people working there? And mind you, I mean, this is a reality across corporates, across companies, working spaces. You have n number of security personnel at the entrance, at the exit, at every floor. This is a norm, this is a regulation. You have security personnel. It's hard to believe and it's hard to comprehend that such a crime happens within the premises, within the complex, and you don't have security forces rushing to it. Forget about the bystanders. That's one part of the story. But where were the security forces? Where were the security personnel who were supposed to be employed by that company to do their job in that complex and in that company? Big questions.
Yeah, I think, Sneha, all these things will be thrown up in the inquiry that I'm sure would be conducted in this case as to why and how it happened. Apparently, somebody has committed a major lapse in allowing this fellow to carry a chopper to his office. It's absolutely shocking. I mean, if you ask me honestly, on the ground in many of the buildings, the guards just keep sitting. If at all, there is a metal detector put there, and a person who's more interested in checking your bag rather than the person individual himself. So that kind of a security you find at n number of places. So nobody takes security. The people are there to maybe to deal with some kind of emergency if the office manager or somebody calls them to do. Otherwise, I find that the security at such places, at such workplaces, extremely lax. The people are not doing their job properly. I hope that the management wakes up to this kind of a threat and they start taking the security to task and ask them to be vigilant. A security man has a very limited job. He has to
So
ensure that nobody carries
in
anything
these
which is.
cases, are there legal lapses from the company as well? If you have, I mean, you know, again, we are hypothetically speaking because we don't have the details of that particular aspect of the case. But presuming that this happened, and it is official that it happened in the parking lot of the BPO, that has been reported. So if it has happened within the parking lot of the BPO, and we are not naming the BPO because we don't have the version of that and we don't have that version, this aspect from the police. So assuming if it happened at the parking lot of the BPO, is the BPO also liable legally, considering if there's been a failure on their security, for the securities not to rush in and do what they're meant to do?
Absolutely, they can be hauled up. An offense can be registered against them for various under various sections of law. They can certainly, and they must actually be hauled up for this kind of a lapse on their part. If any lapse on their part in terms of security results into a serious crime like this, the management of that company and the security agency, everybody must pay. There is no second thought about it.
Right. There are so many questions. Panelists, thank you very much for your time. We are running short of time. There's also an interview that's come in by the Joint Commissioner of Police. We'll just take it in a bit. But PK Jain, Dr. Harish Shetty, as well as Tahira Hassan, our hearts go out to the family. You know, the family has lost their loved one. They've lost their 28-year-old daughter. And this is not the first time that something like this is happening in the country. The companies, the institutions where people work, the employees, the colleagues, bystanders, you and I, all of us have a lot of thinking to do, as do the police as well. Thank you very much, panelists, for your time. Let's just very quickly listen in to what the police has said.
28 वर्षीय युवती जो बीपीओ कर्मचारी थी, जिसपे उसके सहयोगी ने एक जानलेवा हमला किया है। पूरी जानकारी क्या हम जानते हैं। हमारे साथ में एडिशनल सीपी मनोज पाटिल सर क्या बताएंगे, क्या पूरी वारदात थी, किस तरह का हमला था?
नहीं, ये हमला बहुत ही, दिस इंसिडेंट इज वेरी सीरियस। एक ही ऑफिस में काम करने वाले दोनों हैं, कलीग्स हैं, और एक कलीग ने दूसरे कलीग पे हमला किया है और उस पे काफ़ी इंजरीज उसके हाथ को हुई थी। इंजरीज की वजह से, बिकॉज द आर्टरी गॉट रप्चर्ड, उसके वजह से लॉट ऑफ ब्लीडिंग वाज देयर एंड द विक्टिम सकम्ड टू द इंजरीज।
सर, क्या वजह थी हमला होने की और कितने तारीख को हमला हुआ था, क्या जानकारी है?
नहीं, वजह तो प्राइमा फेशिया फाइनेंशियल है, ऐसे रिकॉर्ड पे आ रहा है, बट वी आर इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग सही वजह क्या है। इन्वेस्टिगेशन पूरा होने के बाद ही हम लोग बता सकते हैं।
Well, time for a very short break. On the other side, my colleague Samya brings you a special political report.